So the number one question I get asked is, how the heck did you end up becoming a hypnotist for millionaires? Well, it all started 11 years ago when my brother-in-law bought me a VIP ticket to a Tony Robbins seminar. I turned up to this big seminar room in the heart of London, 12,000 people jumping up and down, screaming, flashing lights, and this big booming man on a stage. I had no idea what I just got myself into. And to be totally honest with you, there was a moment when I decided, do I stay or do I go? And part of me just wanted to turn around and leave. And that actually started to happen until he came up to the stage and said, look, if you're here right now and you've decided to be here, either play full out for these next 4 days or just leave. Don't half-ass it. So in that moment, even though in my mind, I wanted to just get out and get back to my normal life, something deep inside of me called me to stay. And so anyway, I played full out for those 4 days. And what happened was that shy, insecure boy that walked in came out as a lion. I gained so much more confidence. I started getting success with business and in all other areas of my life. I used the skills that I learned there to then go and build my own online business, which did 7 figures. And what I found is over years of going back to that same conference, it wasn't until 5 years later that I realized I was hypnotized. You see, I started to learn from the person who actually taught Tony, who was actually a hypnotist. And that was when I realized he was a hypnotist, and that's what happened to me. And so immediately I became obsessed with how do we master the mind in order to just optimize human potential, but then also get the results that we want in life. Because through going through hundreds of thousands of dollars in online courses, coaching programs, and different trainings, I realized that whilst all of the tactics and the strategies and the how-to was taught, there was always some people who did really, really well, and most people just never really got off the finish line. I realized that the difference was this. And now after 10 years of being in this online space and working with the top 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs, I've realized time and time again that there is this one thing that separates them from the rest. And it's the mindset, first of all, that they're willing to just be open to trying new things just to get that slight edge. And really what I found through working with a lot of these guys is that hypnosis is actually the secret tool that they're using in order to stay ahead. They just don't want to say that because it's their advantage, and it's also still a little bit taboo. You see, before I even got into doing what I'm doing now, I always thought of hypnosis as, man on the stage doing magic tricks or making you quack like a duck or doing something silly. I didn't realize that hypnosis could actually be used for success. And now from being around all of these top guys in the space, hosting my own masterminds, which they come to, it's just become so apparently clear that this is the one thing that they're focused on. You see, any kind of limiting belief, whether it's a fear of failure or not being good enough or how people will judge you, or maybe even a fear of success, they will always hold you back from getting to where you want to go. You see, if you have the goal or desire to make millions and millions of dollars or gain a lot of power and influence or build some kind of business and have success, anything that is not in alignment with where you want to go, aka those fears and limiting beliefs, will always be holding you back. It's kind of like having 1 foot on the accelerator and 1 foot on the brake at the same time. Maybe you make some progress, but then somehow you subconsciously self-sabotage yourself, and then you find you were back where you started. And that's what results in these revenue ups and downs. But these guys at the top have actually mastered this one thing in order to just get sustainable success. And when I start working with these top guys, one of the first questions that they ask is, look, I'm a really logical person. I'm not into like this woo-woo kind of hype stuff. Will this actually work for me? And what I've found through working with these guys is that the most successful guys who are the most logical are actually able to have the best results in hypnosis, not only because they're the most open-minded, but because you actually go into a hypnotic state all throughout the day. In fact, it's the state that you're born in. Between 0 to 8 years old, as a child, you're primarily in what's called the theta brainwave state. This is the same thing as hypnosis. It's that state when you're kind of daydreaming. Maybe you're brushing your teeth or in the shower, or you're driving somewhere and you go on autopilot, or when you wake up and go back to sleep. You're still conscious and awake, but you're in a very relaxed state. That actually is the hypnotic state, and this is why children in their formative years are able to learn so quickly, pick up tons of languages, and adapt so fast. But what happens due to social conditioning and how the brain develops, as adults, we spend less time in that very, very productive state. And so all we're doing in the hypnosis is just getting back to that very normal and natural state. That is where your mind can be completely rewired. Imagine if you didn't have any fears or any limiting beliefs. When you think about your goal right now, how much easier would it be for you to get there if you had no fear holding you back? Not only how much easier would it be, how much bigger would your goals be? Well, you see, this is what's possible with hypnosis because you're essentially positively brainwashing yourself for success by becoming so familiar with the version of yourself that you want to be that you just effortlessly start actually becoming that version and acting like that version. Now, you might be thinking, well, isn't that kind of just delusional? Well, isn't it more delusional to listen to those thoughts and fears, which, by the way, aren't even yours? They just came from your parents, from your upbringing, from the schooling system, which made you have those negative limiting beliefs. So, hey, if we're going to be delusional, why not be delusional about the things that are actually going to get you to where you want to go? And if you're anything like me or the clients that I work with, you've probably already tried a bunch of different mindset things, right? Whether it's a vision board or affirmations or writing gratitude lists or whatever it is. But probably what happens is you don't actually get the immediate results and success that you're looking for. The key difference with hypnosis is it goes so far just beyond the logical mind. See, we're getting into the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is 99% of your overall mind. Meaning, if you're just doing these affirmations on a conscious level and you're saying, you know, I'm rich or I'm a millionaire, you don't actually believe it, and it's just working on a very small level. That's why those results aren't there. However, with hypnosis, we're going deep into that state where things get immediately rewired. So you don't just think differently, you feel differently, you act differently, and you literally become that version of yourself. And so when you become that version of yourself, of course you get there a million times quicker, because now when opportunities present themselves, you're ready to take action. And not only when they present themselves, you actually create those opportunities because you think on such a bigger scale. The way I think about it for myself is it's kind of like taking a limitless pill. You literally feel like and know you can do anything. I know for a fact that anything that I decide to put my mind to, I can create. And that is the best part and the best feeling about doing hypnosis. Now, whilst a lot of my clients come to me initially to make more money, take, for example, Shelby Sapp, who's making $2 million a month, or William Brown, who I helped scale to $500,000 a month in profit, or Jake Trent, who already makes millions of dollars, hypnosis can actually be used for really anything that you want to change immediately. Take Dylan, for example. He already makes $12 million a year with his agency, but the problem he had when he came to me was actually the fear of flying. And since just a young kid, he was never able to get on a plane. He would cancel dozens of trips, or if he got on a plane, he'd be so nervous, he'd be close to passing out, and he'd have to literally sedate himself. Well, in just one session of hypnosis and about 10 minutes, not only did he overcome the fear of flying, but he actually loves flying and looks forward to it. And you see, this is only possible by rewiring the mind on the deepest subconscious level using hypnosis. Or for example, another one of my clients, Daniel, he already makes more money than he knows what to do with, but he spent so much time sitting behind a computer screen, grinding and making money, that there were other areas of his life that he wanted to improve in. One of them being dating. He had a lot of fear and anxiety around approaching women. And so in one session of hypnosis, we got him to the point where he was able to talk to literally anyone, whether it's a woman or any person he wants to. And he actually just messaged me a few days ago saying he's now dating Miss Ukraine, who he found in Bali. Or even, for example, I had a session with my mum just a couple of weeks ago. Since 15 years old, she was smoking cigarettes. She's now 60. So for 45 years, she was unable to quit smoking, even though she tried quite literally everything. Well, in one session, she now does not smoke anymore. She actually just messaged me a few days ago. It's now been almost a month since she hasn't smoked, and I'm super proud of her. But you see, the one thing all of these things have in common is that we're not addressing the symptom. So for example, with the smoking, we're not saying, well, just take a nicotine or a vape pen instead, which is what 99% of people do. They're just approaching the symptom, not the underlying root cause. The root cause is always something much deeper, which is why do they do that thing in the first place? And the only reason they would do that is because they're getting something positive from it, whether it's a good feeling, whether it's a sense of connection or a good, maybe a better mental state. And there's too much pain associated to stopping it. Well, that's exactly what we change using the hypnosis. And as soon as you rewire that, change becomes effortless, and it's actually easier to change fast than it is slowly. You see, we have this perception that change is hard or it takes a long time, but it actually doesn't when you get to the root source. So you're probably wondering, what is it actually like being in hypnosis? Am I like controlling your mind or something, or do you pass out and go to sleep? Well, it's nothing like that. You're actually in control the entire time. You're actually awake the whole time and very much know what's going on. The feeling is it's just very, very relaxing, and it feels very nice, kind of like a deep meditation. But once you're in that very nice, relaxed state, that is where we're able to rewire the mind. Because when you're relaxed, you're now no longer in the thinking mind. You feel completely present, and that's what makes change so easy. You might be thinking, okay, but will this actually work for me? Well, you were a child once, meaning you were in this state of brainwave state 80% of the time, and you were naturally more imaginative. You naturally felt like you could do anything. You know, when your parents asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oftentimes you might have said like, I don't know, a spaceman, or I want to be the president. Well, the reason you were able to have that confidence and self-belief is because you didn't yet have the negative programming, the fears and the limiting beliefs. So all we do is just remove all of that and then program in the reality that you want. And more than anything, I'm a living testament of this. I came from running a marketing agency for many years, and sure, it provided finances and I was able to travel and have some certain freedoms. But once I learned hypnosis and applied it to myself, that was when I truly became free. Now I get to travel around the world, helping these entrepreneurs and athletes to transform their lives in the process. But I'm also free internally. You see, there's internal freedom and external freedom. And oftentimes, once you've got the external freedom, aka the time, the location, and the financial, you'll eventually want to figure out, okay, well, how do I feel fulfilled inside? What is my purpose? How do I actually feel good in the moment? How do I overcome anxiety or fears? And by doing that and addressing it with the hypnosis, the funny thing is that what leads to more external and business success anyway. And so all of these top performers, entrepreneurs, athletes, celebrities who either I work with or top ones around the space like Conor McGregor or Andrew Tate or Mike Tyson or Tiger Woods, who already use hypnotists, that is the reason why they do it. They do it to have that psychological edge and success in their field, but also to be able to work on themselves internally in the process. And so out of everything that I've tried on this 10-year journey in business and personal development, hypnosis has simply been the thing that actually worked and actually got me results in the easiest and fastest time. And so if you want to unlock this cheat code for yourself, feel free to go through some of the hypnosis videos on my channel and apply it in your own life.